And welcome back to Washington Commanders Insider. Today, we're talking about the Washington Commanders injury update. We're also going to be looking at some key statistics going into this game against the Tennessee Titans. And so, let's start with the injury update around Marshawn Lattimore here. And so, this is huge for the Washington Commanders. According to Dan Quinn, he has been saying that Marshawn Lattimore has been doing some practice work separately from his teammates on this side of the field last week. But we are hearing now in an update in a recent tweet that Dan Quinn said that Marshawn Lattimore will practice today. So that is huge for the Washington Commanders to know that Marshawn Lattimore is very close to perhaps getting out on the field. And I love this article. You can go check it out, but it mentions really the struggles that the Washington Commanders have had at the cornerback position and talking about St. Juste and the regression that is going on. And also talking about Mike Sanderstill. And so I think that Mike Sanderstill has played very well. I think that he's been as advertised out of Michigan. And I love his physicality that he is bringing in run support too. And so I think that he's getting better each game with coverages and things like that. And I could see a situation in which, he's maybe starting alongside of Marshawn Lattimore out there as the QB, or excuse me, as cornerback number two. And I think that when you bring Marshawn Lattimore out there, I think that this is going to help this unit certainly kind of close down a portion of the field. And I think for these cornerbacks that have been regressing, perhaps this is going to be the pivot that the Washington Commanders need to go ahead and make massive change here in the secondary in this upcoming season, or upcoming offseason, excuse me. Who knows what's going to happen there? But I think that this is great news for the Washington Commanders, who have been on a 3-game slide, and we need to get this secondary help. I think that, the sooner we kind of close up that secondary, and not saying that that's been really the major issue with this defense, because it's been collective. They've been terrible against the run, and then also too, we've been giving up some good QBR rates as well. And so I think that he certainly is going to help us there. But I think that, when you can just stop one thing, and you can basically now focus on another thing, I think that that's going to help your defense. And so whether we take away the run or the pass, I think that that's huge. And especially in the passing game, with the way that this NFL is now, with those big, huge plays, if you can shut down the side of the field, I think that that really helps everything else on your defense. And so with that being said, want to go ahead and look at some keys going into this next game. And so first and foremost, the Washington Commanders are on a 3-game losing streak. And so the Washington Commanders, just on both sides of the ball, have got to get back to some consistency. I say it often that with the offense, they need to get back to playing some smash mouth football. I think that that's when they're really at their best. We'll have to look at another injury update coming up on this next show in regards to Brian Robinson Jr. I think that he's a huge part in what the Washington Commanders want to do from an identity standpoint. And so I think that that is going to really play a key in this game, and really down the stretch for the Washington Commanders. They have got to run the football. Next up, Jaden Daniels, I think he's been spectacular really in the fourth quarter and when this team needs it. But we need him to get back to really operating at a high level before the fourth quarter. And I think just the offense in general has got to get back on schedule, back on pace. I think that they're looking at situations where there's a lot more negative plays now than it was before at the start of the year. And that could be, going into this whole notion around this team that perhaps the offense is now being figured out by other defenses. That might be true. And I mean, as defenses pick up on your tendencies, yes, they're going to know, what your quarterback is trying to do. They're going to understand, I guess, what you're trying to do to them from a scheme standpoint. So yes, that is going to make it challenging, but somehow the Washington Commanders have got to figure out a way to counter that and get this offense back on schedule to getting positive plays out there. Defensively, one of the things that the Commanders have just got to fix is they have got to find a way to somehow stop running backs from really having great days against them. Because right now, the Commanders are giving up 5 yards per carry. They gave up 4.5 yards last week against the Dallas Cowboys. And so currently, they're ranked towards the bottom of the league in this category. and you just cannot give up these big chunk yards. I mean, that's what got us in Philadelphia. I think that that's what helped get us here against the Dallas Cowboys. I talked about the time of possession. Like, you just cannot continue to get gashed on the ground. And so at some point, the Washington Commanders are going to need to create some negative plays at the line of scrimmage. So I think that that is one key takeaway for this defense going into this week. Can they stop, this Titans team from having a good day? Because Tony Pollard had 119 yards last week against the Texans and about 5 yards per carry. So that is what's coming to the Washington Commanders this weekend. Next up, as far as the passing game is concerned here, look, the Washington Commanders have been heating up. I think that there's a real opportunity for them to generate some sacks against this Titan team. In fact, look, they have given up 5+ sacks in the last 3 games. They gave up, I think, 8 sacks last week. And so, look, I want to see this Washington Commanders defense continue to get home. I think that they have done a terrific job as far as getting sacks, and I think that they have an opportunity here to do that. Hopefully, we're able to push the Titans into negative plays. I think then when you get Will Levis to now really press, and he's trying to play the catch-up game, especially when it comes to trying to gain yardage for the first down marker, I think that you could force him into some good mistakes here. So with that being said, that leads me to the secondary. So look, Will Levis last week in his game against the Titans, or against the Texans, excuse me, he had 278 yards and 2 touchdowns last week. And the Commanders currently, at the time of this broadcast, they're giving up 102.8 as far as the QBR rating, which is tied for 29th in the NFL. So that suggests, just like last week, where we've seen Cooper Rush go out there and have a day against the Commanders, I think that Will Levis is going to come in here. He's going to be trying to dealing against these Commanders. Hopefully, this is where Marshon Lattimore is going to play huge for the Commanders, because I feel like if he is going to be as good as advertised and be able to shut down the field, hopefully, he's able to get out there and play the full game if he is going to be coming out there, or he might be, on a snap limit. Who knows? We don't know because we're not there in the game just yet. But I think if he's able to play at full capacity, and he's able to play like himself and shut down this side of the field, I think that this helps the Commanders a lot. I think that you turn the Titans into just a one-dimensional team. So that is going to be critical for the Washington Commanders. And then lastly, shifting focus back to the offensive side of the ball for the Commanders. They're coming in, they've scored 26 points, 3 out of their last 4 games. And so, like I said before, the offense is figuring it out, but they're figuring it out too late in the fourth quarter. They've got to be able to have their foot on the gas throughout the game. And so hopefully this team can get it going early. They're still averaging 27.8 points per game, which is good enough for 5th in the NFL. And so that, I think, are some of the keys for this upcoming game. So let me know what you think about this current injury update around Marshon Lattimore. Is this going to help the Washington Commanders? Is this a huge boost for them? Do you feel like they are ready to get off this 3-game losing streak? I'd love to hear what your comments are. And so this is Rico. This is Washington Commanders Insider. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.